Broadcast for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. This is the Firearms Radio Network. The bandwidth for this episode of Gun Guy Radio is sponsored by Patriot Patch Company. PatriotPatch.co.
Welcome to episode 228 of Gun Guy Radio. This is a podcast that shines a positive light on the firearms lifestyle. I'm your host, Chick Challen, with co-host Zach Carlson. This is your weekly dose of positive firearms talk without the politics. Hey, Zach.
Hey, how's it going? Is this positive firearms lifestyle, is this turning into this Call of Duty lifestyle?
I don't even have time for that. I don't know if you noticed. I've been hammer and nails lifestyle.
So like a working man.
Like, yeah, actual work. Yeah.
You are wearing a Wrangler hat and like a denim coat, so I guess it fits fitting.
Gotta look the part. So, what have you been up to this week?
Well, sadly, not a ton gun-related specifically, but I think we kind of talked about it a little bit in our AR episode about the Heat style rifle. You've seen the movie Heat, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's a classic gun movie, and it's a slow burn is what I would like to call it. It's not a huge action-packed movie, but in that movie, one of the characters, they use a awesome short barrel AR-15. It's a A1 style carry handle. That gun is just so light and nimble and handy that I want one so bad. So I'm going to probably build one. But the big question is, looking it up, I put a link in the show notes. I guess it's technically a Colt Model 654. I don't care that it's exactly the same, but I essentially want to build or buy a 11.5-inch front sight post gun with an A1 carry handle. Stock, I don't really care, grip, all that, but I do want hand guards. I don't want to do a rail or anything. I just want to make a super lightweight handy gun, and then I'm going to probably convert it into a machine gun for on the business license or whatever. So I just want to make one.
And then if you ever lose your job or anything, all you need is a ski mask or a hockey mask and the gun. And
well, you don't think I already don't have one? I grew up on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the sidekick with the hockey mask and the sticks. So yeah, I want to build one of those really bad. I think I might end up just building it from parts with a A1 upper and a good barrel and all that. But if I could find it all done, the big question I have for everybody is everybody still mad at Troy Industries? They had the thing. It was a few years ago now, but do you remember the whole shenanigans with them about their training division and all that and the hires that they did?
Oh, they hired some of the
it was like Chicago anti-gun top cops or something like that. And
didn't they hire the Ruby Ridge sniper or something?
Yeah, exactly. Then so they quickly followed that faux pas up with hiring one of the what you said, the FBI guy that was, I don't know if he was the one that pulled the trigger or was the guy that was right next to the guy or whatever. He was involved in that in some way. So I know people were really upset about that, but unfortunately they are one of the few that I see off the shelf that makes the upper that I need for that gun. It's like it's already done. It's how we talked about that retro rifle the other day on last episode, and how I said that the little 16-inch version they have with the big pin and weld would be awesome, except for it's the wrong twist rate for what I'm looking for. And Troy makes that with the right twist rate, but I really just don't want to get into this situation where I have this gun and every social media post I get the guy, well, actually, they you're supporting Ruby Ridge guys. No, I'm not, but are we still all mad about this? Let me know.
I don't know. Maybe you could buy it on the used market and be like, hey, I didn't give them money directly, right?
Yeah, but I'll inevitably be promoting the gun. So maybe I'm better off just doing it. Or maybe I'm just better off doing the Brownells gun and just dealing with the twist rate. I don't know.
Don't you work at a gun company? Can't you do some one-off parts? Come on.
Yeah, let me just tool up, take everything off the machines and just put my parts on there. Yeah.
Well, I thought that's what you do. No?
I only say that if we ever have a back order and somebody's complaining. I say, well, sorry, I had to pull my parts on there.
No, I think that would be an awesome build. I'll have to watch that movie again, too. That's a good movie.
Well, we talked about this before, right? That I had a DPMS A1 carry handle gun that was awesome, except for when you tried to fire it and it didn't work. The theory of the gun was amazing. It was super light, super handy.
Yeah.
I loved it a lot. And it was even a 16-inch version. It was just a standard 16-inch, but DPMS puts those terrible stocks on it, terrible handguards, and it didn't fire. It wouldn't cycle. So besides those facts, it was an awesome gun.
Well, just buy one of those and replace everything on it.
Well, and that's the other thing I'm thinking, like, maybe I should just build it from parts, because I want to put one of those, you ever seen those bootleg, it's Primary Weapons' sister company, that they have that suppressor specific bolt carrier assembly that you can adjust the gas in the side of the bolt, or the bolt carrier. So I really want that, because it's going to be a suppressed gun, 24/7 suppressed. So 24/7 suppressed machine gun is just asking for trouble and a cloud of unburnt powder in my face. So trying to mitigate that right from the get-go. So if I have to replace the bolt carrier anyways, maybe I should just build it from parts and get the right parts in the first place.
Yeah. I don't know. You'll figure it out. So stay tuned to Zach's next 5 builds.
Saga. My next saga.
So the cabinet showed up, the big heavy-duty steel cabinet that I ordered instead of a safe and instead of a quote-unquote gun cabinet. It's just a steel, I don't know, shop cabinet, I guess, but...
Yeah, like utility cabinet.
But, so I've had, steel utility cabinets for the shop. I've had it for my old shop. I had one for, aerosols and sprays and stuff like that, and all the toxic stuff to keep that locked up away from the kids. But this cabinet is in league of its own. I mean, it's nothing like cabinets you're probably familiar. A lot of people are probably familiar with, and just a shed or something. This thing is built like a tank. It's completely welded. There's no bolts in it. It's welded like a safe would be welded together, kind of. And it's on big heavy duty steel feet or channels. I guess it's not even 4 feet. It's 2 channels on each, or 1 channel on each end, but it's built like a tank. And it showed up off a semi with a lift gate, dropped it in front of my shop. I've got a cement pad out there, and I'm totally under construction in here. I don't have room for anything, so I just had the guy leave it outside because they weren't calling for snow or rain or anything. So anyways, this thing has been outside here and bugging me. I'm like, I got to get this inside, and I don't have a bobcat or any kind of equipment with forks to move heavy,
or a pallet jack.
Or a pallet jack. And this thing, with everything in it, it weighs over around 600 pounds, I think, shipping weight. And so I'm like, how am I going to get this thing off this pallet? And so tonight I tackled it. I didn't want to, but I did. And I took some 20-ton bottle jacks. I had a few of those and a bunch of scrap lumber, and I went through the ordeal of jacking it up and down, and I cut the pallet in half so I jacked it up, pulled both halves of the pallet out, and had it up on blocks. But then, I had to get it, the right configuration to where I had enough drop in the jack, enough lift to get it to go where I wanted it to go. The drop was the key because, you want to pull out, to get lower, you want to pull out chunks of wood. This thing is trying to tip on me, and I actually tipped it into my shop door and put a little bit of a dent in it, but not too bad. There's already some other dents in it. So anyways, needless to say, I got some furniture dollies under it, like the classic,
Harbor Freight specials.
Yeah. And I got a local farm store. But yeah, the classic, I mean, you probably grew up, your dad probably had these in your garage. I remember making go-karts out of them when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But I got 2 of those under it, and I got the spacing right, and I got it down. And to get down the last 2 inches, I had to basically drop it and get it to fall down because I didn't have anything the right height to go under it to jack it up and let it down at that point. So got it on there. It wasn't pretty, but then, it glided so nice through the shop because I had to push it all the way through the shop to the back of the shop where I have my office built out here. And it was better than a Walmart shopping cart. It was just smooth, right? Right.
That's a low bar to set for yourself, but okay.
I mean, there's like 600 pounds on it. And, but yeah, turned around, went through 3 doorways, and I sent you some pictures. I had like hardly any clearance at the top. But I got it. It's behind me. It's, I need to pull the carts out from under it. But
it looks really tall. I mean, how tall is that thing again?
78 inches tall.
In counting the feet on it, right? That's just that's not the internal storage. That's the overall.
Yeah, that's overall. So yeah, it's 6.5 feet tall. So it's taller than me. I'm 6'2". So yeah, I mean,
that's awesome.
It's gigantic though. I open up the doors on it. Once I got in here, I'm opening the doors on it and looking at it. I'm like, 6 guys my size could easily fit. It's like a 6-person safe. Forget about guns. It's gigantic.
Huh. So then the next task is to figure out what you're going to store in there and how you're going to lay it all out. And is that what the plan is? Or are you going to first bolt it all in and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I don't know that. I guess see how flat it sits on the floor once I get the carts out from under it, but I don't know that I'm going to even bother bolting it because no one's going to, I mean, it's not going to tip over. I mean, as long as it sits flat, I'll be comfortable with it's staying there. It's not going anywhere. No one's going to try to take the whole thing. It's too big. They'll just cut the hinges and pull everything out of it. I mean, like I said before, all the cutting stuff and everything's already in my shop. So it's not like it's really, I'm not worried about that. It's more like keeping the kids out of it and keeping honest people honest and stuff like that.
So here's a kind of a goofy question. If the liftgate truck brought it to you and he used the pallet jack to get it onto the liftgate, right, and to pull it off the liftgate, why didn't you just have him wheel it all the way to the back room on the pallet for you? Or would it not have fit? The
pallet wouldn't fit through my doors.
Oh, gotcha.
Well, and I got too much crap in the shop anyways. Because I'm putting up another loft, and I put up like 30 2x8s that were sitting in front of that. There's so much stuff out there. I only have like a 4-foot walkway in front of this giant door as is.
You're like a hoarder. You're like a hoarder.
It is. It kind of is like a hoarder situation out there because everything, it's all under construction. So I got no home for anything. So anyways, I got a big part of the loft put up between the time it came and today. So I had a bunch of lumber that I used up that was in front of the way. And then actually more lumber I put in my truck to take back to Menards to return because I overbought. So I had, this was like the first day I had enough room to actually get it back. But yeah, that was the bummer, was the pallet was just a hair too big for the doors. Even though I got the widest doors, I have 36-inch doors.
So yeah, I guess, well, it still wouldn't, isn't that, you'd have to have put it in there lengthwise then.
Well, you know what, height-wise it wouldn't fit through the doors either. I measured it. It was like 4 inches too tall to fit through doors on the pallet.
I mean, it looks massive just looking over your shoulder. There's only can you even get an ammo can on top of it between that and the ceiling? It looks really close to the ceiling.
Oh, yeah, I could put an ammo can up there. Yeah. This ceiling's a little taller than the other ceiling. I came through the other set of rooms. The ceiling's pretty low in there.
Well, good. I'm glad you got it and you were home because I know it was an unannounced delivery, right? So it's a good thing you were
right.
there.
Yeah. So I'm eating lunch and this semi pulls in. I'm like, oh crap, because I had zero notice from Amazon, zero notice from the trucking company. The driver didn't even call me. Just pulled in. I'm like, damn. It's lucky I work at home because otherwise, it worked out. So.
Looks good. So now you have no excuse not to buy a bunch of new guns.
And Amazon still thinks it hasn't been delivered, so we'll see how that saga goes.
File a claim. Say, excuse me, I've never had this. I would like a prompt refund, Amazon.
No, I want another delivery.
Well, there you go. Well, speaking of guns, now that you have all the space, when are you going to start buying some guns?
I ordered a 1022 strip lower so I can start a 1022 project here this next year, so...
What? You got a gun? Well, a part of a gun?
Part of a gun. It's shipped today, and I pick it up from a brand new to me FFL, and it's only like 4 miles from my house, so I get to meet them and see. It's like seems like probably a somewhat kitchen table FFL, but it's local to me, and so that'll be exciting too.
So did you get a 1022 or a Charger, or what'd you end up getting? Is this an OEM receiver?
This is the one you recommended from Brownells.
Okay. So you got a Virgin receiver, so you can build whatever you want.
Right. And what'd you recommend? You build it into a what first?
Pistol first.
Pistol first. Well, and I think that's why I'm keeping it as a pistol.
Yeah, because that way you can always go back and forth. But once you build it in a rifle, you're kind of stuck as a rifle from the beginning.
We're right, because I started looking at Gunbroker, and there's a lot of guys on there like breaking down brand new 1022s and selling all the parts. And so you can get 1022 brand new 1022 receivers on there for a really good deal. But then you pointed out the fact that they would transfer in as a rifle because they were originally built and sold as a rifle. So
yeah, I mean, technically it left the original configuration as a rifle, so you can never go back from that. Your FFL would probably still check it in as an other because it came to them as a receiver. But if somebody really got to be a pain in the butt and really researched it, like if you ever got in trouble for it, they would say it was a rifle originally. But the Brownells one, it's no question about it. I mean, the truth is, who's going to check? Like, who's ever going to know what you built it in? It's not like you build it and take a photo the same day of it in whatever configuration it is. Like, this is kind of an honor systems thing, but you never want to get caught with your pants down in a situation like this. And so it's better to just be above the law, kind of thing.
Well, we know they listen to this podcast, so
yeah.
Well,
aren't you an ATF agent undercover in South Dakota trying to bust a big ring?
Right. Shh. Quiet.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, so that's good. Are we going to build this into a series of you picking out all your parts and figuring out what you're going to do with it?
Yeah, probably not a series, more like a slow, drawn out saga that you just want to hang yourself when it's all done.
Oh, like our scope episode.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, good. Well, speaking of scope episode, we did get an email, I believe from Aaron, that asked about apps for scopes. And I'm not sure exactly what he was talking about, if he meant for like the ones that have the the ballistic data or one of those apps, but I haven't really used it other than the apps like in the SIG BDX system, which used your rangefinder and the scope talk to each other. That was kind of cool. I didn't like it in practice, but in theory, it was really cool. Playing with it was really cool. I just didn't care for the actual scope that I was using with it. I think it was the 5-20 or something like that. What do you think he meant? Do you think he meant the ballistic data scopes, or is there an app that I'm missing in here?
There's a ton of apps out there, right? I mean, there's like logbooks and stuff too, and or what do you call that for long range shooting?
Yeah, your dope cards and all that stuff.
Right. Yeah. I don't know.
I've gotten really lazy these days because I have that SIG Kilo 1200 ABS, which has the ballistic engine built into it. So it does have an app on the phone. So you put in all your muzzle velocity and your, coefficient data and all that. And then you upload, I think you can upload 4 at a time into the rangefinder. And then once you do that, when you click the rangefinder, if you're on the right load, it'll just auto correct for you. So it'll say your range, and then it'll say, up 10 mils or whatever. And then it'll you could do the wind too, but it's a little bit kind of not worth the trouble kind of thing. But that's pretty cool. That's gotten me really lazy where I don't have to maintain a whole bunch of stuff. I just keep the app up to date, and the rangefinder holds the last 4 that I needed. And that's really handy. It's very, very handy.
That's cool. Awesome. Well, Patriot Patch Company helps make this episode possible. Check out the Patch of the Month Club over at patriotpatch.co. Also, if you're listening to this shortly after it drops, we have Christmas ornaments now.
Yeah, those are cool. I saw those
at patriotpatch.co. Yeah, those are awesome too. They have a really good quality feel to them. They're thicker. They're like twice as thick as the patches because there's no Velcro there. It's just an ornament. But they have the little like hangy hole and string. They're already pre-strung, so you just throw them on the tree. We have 9 designs to choose from. Some of them are classic, very hard to find Patch of the Month designs that you can no longer get in patch form, but you can get the ornaments. So check it out, patriotpatch.co.
Yeah, you should make it as a tradition, like where you buy your kid a new ornament every year. I don't know if you ever did that as a kid, but that's what you should start with. As a gun guy, that's how you will indoctrinate your kids into guns.
That's right. Or you could have your own little festive tree by your gun safe or something like that if the wife doesn't let you.
Ooh. Yeah, that's what you should do for like office Secret Santa gifts and everything. If you're like in a really PC company, just get them gun patch ornaments for the white elephant gifts.
Yeah, I can't wait. Next year we're going to gear up and do a lot more Christmas products and stuff. It's going to be fun.
You should do stockings with like a Velcro patch panel availability.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people are saying. I think we will. But a couple of years ago I thought about it, but like everyone and their brother was doing stockings then, and it seems to kind of tapered off now. So I think we might get into it. So main topic, fanboys. Are you fanboys, Zach?
I have probably been accused of being a fanboy in my time, for sure. I just get enthusiastic about a certain segment or company or brand or whatever.
What is a fanboy? Did you look up a definition?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the definitions are really kind of tailored towards, fanboy with the BOI spelling is really kind of tailored towards like the technology segments more so. It's when you're It's just like an extreme fanaticism, just like anything else, basically. But they're very, I don't know. I think they call it unusually attracted or devoted to a particular technology or tech company when they talk about that. So the classic tech example would be Apple fanboys. That's one where, you love everything that Apple does, no matter what. And then when they release a obviously flawed product, you stick by their side and defend them to the death. And in the Apple thing, I think that a lot of times was when the keyboard started having issues, the butterfly keys, or was it the scissors, whatever the newer keyboard was, you saw the true fanboys kind of being like just making excuses for the company. It's kind of like sticking up for an abusive relationship partner. You're just like, well, they didn't mean it. They're still good. That kind of thing.
Your magnet, what is it called? Manic dependent.
Yeah, exactly. And I love Apple products. I've been using Apple since 2005. No, whatever. It doesn't matter. 2005, I think. And I'll never go back to a Windows computer. I actually had to use one for our spring testing machine as a Windows computer for the software that runs it. And it annoys me every single time. Like, drastically annoys me. It angers me when I have to use one. But I don't typically defend them. But, it's like with technology, it's a lot easier. But I think that goes into cars. You'll see a lot in Teslas. The Tesla fanboys are out there almost in full force every time. And there's Tesla haters, obviously, and there's Apple haters, the same thing. It's almost like the opposite of fanboy, like where whatever they put out, even if they think in the back of their mind that they like it, they're going to reject it just on principle.
Well, it's like the Ford Chevy thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. But this transcends, different kind of industries. This is rampant in the gun culture too. I mean, you'll see it all over the place. Who's your favorite fanboy segment in the gun industry?
I don't know that I have a favorite. I used to be somewhat of a Springfield fanboy, but screw that.
Oh yeah.
Screw that.
That's like when you obviously know things are terrible, but you still stand up for them. Yeah, that was like you in Springfield.
Well, I mean, we just saw a big, all the Glock fanboys just had the big Glock announcement, the new 22 Glock that Glock's. I mean, hasn't Glock made that overseas for like 15 years?
I don't know. This is the weird thing is it's like polymer and metal mixture of a slide, and it's very strange. But we're already getting emails. They're not even out in hands, and I got emails from the UK wanting an 11-inch barrel for them, and because they want them to. I guess you have to import them properly. You got to make a certain overall length, and whatever that barrel will make you do it. But just it's so weird to me. But and it just. I don't know. It just doesn't look right to me. I know it's the same size as a Glock 19, but like with the threaded barrel on it, and it just doesn't look quite right. And how can Taurus, Walther, all these other companies get the threaded barrel part right and Glock can't? Like you have to buy an additional threaded barrel. Like I work for a company that is dependent on Glock. I mean, we are dependent on people owning Glocks. My bread and butter is you buying a Glock or parts from me to make a Glock. And I still think like, man, this is weird. Like, why would they do that? Why wouldn't they just make the same style threaded barrel that you thread on an adapter or make it a stock length barrel without it? Like that doesn't make sense to me. It seems like it's just it's like a cash grab. It seems like, oh yeah, look at it. We can get these suckers to buy this gun and then they can buy another $150+ barrel for it. Like, doesn't that seem weird to you?
Yeah. I mean, you see a lot of higher end companies do that though. I mean, Apple kind of does that with some stuff that they don't include.
Don't you talk about my Apple.
Down, Zach. Take a deep breath.
No, I think classically Glock fanboys are some of the worst, but they eat it up. Do you honestly think that like Glock didn't have the 43 in process before the 42? But if they would have came out with the 43 first, who the heck would buy the 42? So they put the 42 out there, let all the first wave buyers buy it, and everybody that doesn't want to wait. And then when the 43 comes, the people that bought the 42s will probably buy the 43s as well. Like they're not dumb. Like they're not multi-billionaires just because they're dumb. Like they know what their market is.
Yeah, I mean, they're a company that plays it very, very safe, I guess you say, but they're also very strategic about how they stay safe and vanilla.
Yeah, it's I think Glocks for sure are one of the biggest fanboy cultures in the guns, but I mean, I see it with CZs too. I mean, I like CZs a lot. I think they fit me better. They shoot better for me than even Glocks, but so I'm kind of tuned into it a little bit more. And there are definitely people that kind of snub their nose to anything but CZ. Like if you showed up to the range and they had their, whatever CZ pistol and you had something else, they would make a character judgment against you for what you had in your hand. I think that's kind of where it comes into play.
Yeah, they kind of look at you in that Eastern European style and judge you.
I think the worst for that then would be HK. Like,
right.
We're
better than you.
Yeah, you know how some stuff is, a stereotype, but stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason. Like there's a nugget of truth in almost every stereotype, whether you like it or not, and yeah, HK people, are very snobby, and same with SIGs, but they're all over the place. Like it's not just because, I don't know. Do you think it's a money thing, or do you think it's a true quality thing? Like HKs are nice. I had an HK P30. Well, I mean, I couldn't shoot for with it, but it was fine.
Well, HK, it stems from the company too. I mean, they act like complete, a-holes and snobs, and H&K, they're also a company that takes a stance that, a lot of their guns are only for military and law enforcement. Civilians should never own this version of this gun that we make.
Yeah, I don't know how. And then why do civilians stick with them? But it's just, I don't know. I still think Glocks are probably the most prevalent fanboys in gun culture, but there are some definite ones. Even SIGs are a big fanboy culture, it seems like. I think anytime you get a company that like they come out with just versions that aren't different but are just like different coatings and stuff, that would be like Kimbers are a huge one. Like how many guns does Kimber actually make versus how many SKUs do they actually have? Because it's like the same darn gun with just like a bunch of coatings all over it and making different SKUs from it. Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. Does a fanboy come first, or does a company create the fanboy atmosphere first? I mean, but it's like the chicken and egg type thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you can fully make. Well, I guess that's a very good question. I don't know, but it doesn't just have to do with money. Obviously, I mean, there's some kind of reverse fanboys that are just crazy. People are just so much fans because of they think it's quote unquote just as good. Like the Palmetto State Armory people, the Anderson Lower people. There's a reason they're called poverty ponies. Like they're people claim that, or the Anderson people claim they're just as good as the Colts, but that's debatable, I guess. Well, no, it's not really. They're not. But do you think it's people that just either can't? Okay, is it ignorance, or is it do they just not know, or do they realize that they'll never be able to have the good stuff? So they just put it out of their mind?
Are you saying they're too stupid to know how poor they really are?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I've had a bunch of Palmetto State guns. I even have one in my safe right now as we speak. And there's nothing against it, but you don't hear me shouting from the rooftops, don't go buy your Colt or insert any name here, because this one that's a quarter of the price is just as good. Like I did this. I have videos on YouTube showing it. I have a primary weapons 11-inch gun and a Palmetto 10.5-inch gun. And you can put them side by side. You could put a blindfold on, put a gun in somebody's hand, and just tell them to rack it, and they will tell the difference right there alone. You'll feel the quality. And for somebody that's unwilling to pay the money for the quality, I can't help you. Like, you can be happy with a Anderson or a PSA. There's nothing wrong with them, but don't come to me and tell me it is just as good as something that's better quality, because it's not. And if you think that, you're lying to yourself. It might be just as good for you in your use case scenario, and there's nothing wrong with that. But in the general, you cannot say it's on the same level.
Well, so part of this, I think, stems from, and we're all guilty of this. I'm especially guilty of this. Probably my gun cabinet is a good case point at hand here. But you always want to justify and glorify things that you spent your hard-earned money on. And so you want to feel like the smartest man on the planet for making this specific decision and spending your money on it for these reasons. And even if like all of it's BS, you want to make yourself feel good. And I think a lot of times we don't even do it consciously. I mean, some people are probably worse than others. Some people might not even realize they're doing it. They just kind of a whole denial. I don't know.
Well, they call it confirmation bias. Isn't that what the term for that is?
Yeah.
When you purchased it, so you're not an idiot. So why would it be not the right choice? You have to get that other people to agree and to try to defend your position.
So, and I've been completely guilty of being fanboy and stuff, and probably will again in the future. But at the same time, we have to admit that we've lived long enough and seen enough things and had enough experience that like every company puts out something that's crap. I mean, maybe not every model of that item, but not everything's perfect. I mean, everything is made by people, or even if it's made by machines, which aren't always perfect. There's nothing's ever 100% quality. So, and there's different degrees of that. So, I've spent a lot of money on high-end gadgets or projects or products that, I thought was going to be the best thing ever, and then it turned out to be maybe not a pile of junk, but it turned out to be like the same as like the Harbor Freight Special or something. And that's not always the case, but, and I guess the inverse of that is kind of what makes a poverty pony stance too, is if you do find a Harbor Freight Special that is just as good as this high-end thing, then you found the best thing ever. I don't know.
I don't think you'll ever find one that's just as good. Exactly. It might be okay for your position in your life cycle of everything, and it could be like cars are perfect. I've had I was a $8,000 car that was the bee's knees. That was it was the best thing ever that nobody could tell me it was bad. But then when I get later in life and I'm like, well, that was actually kind of crappy of a car. Like, the guy at AutoZone knew my name. Like, that's a bad sign, but, and like, I have a Civic right now. I like that car a lot. It is awesome. But my coworker that has a Mercedes-Benz thinks that car's awesome. I think he's insane for having that car for how much we drive. But it's like, I could be a Honda fanboy and he could be a Mercedes-Benz fanboy, but we're both right and we're both wrong. Like, it's where you're at in your journey on this, and the guns are just the same. I had so many Palmetto State Armory guns, and I've only had one Anderson lower, and I bought that in the panic because I couldn't get anything else. But
I still have an Anderson lower I bought in the panic,
and it works fine, right? Well, have you built it? Or
no.
Is this
No.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Well, there's nothing wrong with them. They're fine, but when you look back at it, how many of those guns that I have, and for the same amount of money, could I have had the highest or higher end gun? And I could have. And that's why I have a primary weapon systems gun now. That is an awesome gun. And that's not even the highest end. That's just the highest end that I can justify to my own self at this point in life. It was, I don't even know how much expensive. It's a couple $1,000s. It's an expensive gun. But there's another guy that's, the whole thing, there's always going to be somebody that's stronger than you, and there's always going to be somebody that's richer than you. It works here too. There's some guy that's listening to this right now that has an HK, 416 that's like, oh, that poor guy buying a PWS gun. But I'm thinking, man, PWS was a pinnacle for me. Like, that's a really good gun. I mean, and then there's a Palmetto State guy that's saying, man, I wish I could afford a PWS. We're all just in our stations. It doesn't mean we have to be fanboys about it. You can be where I'm at now or where anybody's at and just realize where it is. It's just being self-aware of where you're at. It doesn't mean that's where you got to stay, or it doesn't mean you have to be shameful of where you're at. There is nothing wrong with a PSA gun if that's what you like and that's what you want, and it does everything you need it to do. And don't let anybody tell you that it is, but also don't come telling me that that is just as good as a higher tier gun, because it's not.
Right. Yeah, well put.
And then there's the 45s and the 1911 guys. We can all agree that they're just not right?
2 world wars, Zach. 2 world wars.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Have you owned a 1911? I know you did a test on one a long time ago. Do you own any?
No, I don't. I will. At some point I'll buy one. I like them. I don't think I'll ever carry one because they're weigh like 900 pounds. But yeah.
It seems like you would have one in a shoulder holster with your denim jacket there and everything, and just it'd kind of be fitting.
This is canvas. Thank you very much.
Sorry. Okay.
This is not. I'm not some like band like groupie or something. This is canvas, not denim.
Okay, sorry, canvas. Okay, whatever.
This is a Duluth.
Touchy there, fanboy.
Actually, this is fire hose Duluth material. Thank you very much.
Oh, are you a Duluth fanboy now?
Yes.
They need them to justify their prices.
I love Duluth.
There you go. You're a Duluth fanboy.
Maybe a little.
I was until I went into one of their stores and I saw their prices and I was like, well, I don't know who can afford this crap, but not me. Anyways, 1911s, yeah, I mean, you see those a lot where they're just, and if it works for them, it works for them. But, I don't know. It just,
well, I guess. And with 1911s, it's like the high-end ones or the competition. I guess that's the other thing we talk about is the competition fanboys. They're like, IDPA is the only competition you should do, or IPSC, or I don't know. Can't even think.
USPSA,
3-gun, USPSA.
3-gun, yeah. A lot of that stuff is just, I don't know. It's just, they get fanatical about it, I guess. But I think I think the next wave is going to be video game fanboys building up the guns that they're in the games. It's funny, like Call of Duty, they have a gun called the Scar, but then some of the other guns, like an MCX is was it M13 or whatever? Like they have guns that are clearly real guns, but they don't use the name. But then they use the name in some of them, so I don't quite get it.
Yeah, I don't understand that either.
But I could totally see the next generation of gun buyers coming into the gun stores, asking for guns by their Call of Duty names, and just being fanatical about it because they perceive their performance based on video game attributes.
Right, and that's what we need to do. We need to start a video game name gun company, right?
Yeah. Well, if you let's do that in like a separate company, so you don't take all your personal assets when they come sue you.
I mean, all you have to do is buy all the real stuff and laser on the video game names and then mark them up 20%, and we've got a business, right?
Yeah. That's why you're the entrepreneur here. Yeah. I mean, you're obviously a Springfield Armory fanboy for some reason, and
not anymore. I was not anymore. Not since they threw.
What do you carry every single day on your hip?
Doesn't matter.
What was your favorite 9mm competition gun? XDM, and now you got this XDS. You are a Springfield fanboy.
No, was
boy, for God's sakes, you shared the same state.
Yeah, and then they threw Illinois gun owners under the bus, and I'm no longer a fan of Springfield.
Okay. So were you always Springfield, or can you see yourself changing camps over the years? Like when you become richer?
Hey, I have that Glock MOS. Thank you very much.
That you couldn't even find at one point, right?
I found it. I thought I have an Olight that would mount on that, and then I've got the light up optic now with the Howl Sun. That's my possum killer right there.
You need to wear some earplugs when you shoot that one, then.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's the downside of not shooting with a 22.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would call you an Olight fanboy.
Oh, I'm kind of loving Olights. Yeah,
See? Yeah.
I don't get kickbacks like all their sponsored fanboys, but
Well, you're doing it wrong then, because the only people that say good things about Olight are people that get paid. Just like you really see the fanboy culture come out, like on Instagram. Do you remember when the Hellcat, the Springfield Armory Hellcat, was announced, and you just saw everybody and their brother had a Hellcat, and they were praising it. And now you see the same thing with the G44s coming out. You see all these posts about at media events and all this, and you just see a lot of these, industry people just fanboying out over these companies. And you got to wonder, is it because they're getting paid, or do they really like it, or is it a combination of column A and B?
yeah, I think it's definitely a combination with the bigger companies like that. But then you see, like you're talking about the poverty ponies, you see the High Point fanboys, and no one's paying them.
Yeah, honestly, would use that money to buy something other than a High Point. Yeah, I mean, there's just, I don't know. I don't know what the whole point of this topic was, but it was just to kind of hash it out and get everybody's thoughts on that. And I'm curious what the listeners think about fanboyism.
Awareness and admitting you have a problem is the first step. So I think that's our point of this. And I admit I have been a fanboy in the past.
I am
relapsing.
Recuperated. What's the fixed version? I'm a
belligerent.
Yeah, belligerent. I wasn't trying to get to that. Jeez, I'm saying I'm a reformed. Reformed is the word I was looking for. Not belligerent jerk. I was reformed car fanboy. I think they're still fine guns, but they are what they are.
That's right. You were hard in the paint for car for a long time.
I was, because they are just so darn comfortable to carry. They're so thin, they're so light, but I did find myself, like, when I'm being honest with myself, like, they are hard to go shoot back to back to other guns. Like, I can get used to a Glock trigger real easy, or CZ. They're so much easier to shoot. And then with a car, it was very hard for me just to instinctively shoot. If I could focus on it, or I shot it for a little bit preemptive and then shot it some more, I was fine with it. But it wasn't a gun that I could just pick up and be 100% competent with.
Well,
problem.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason I still have the Springfield XDS, is that's one I can pick up and instinctively shoot. And that's really what you should be looking for in a carry gun. Not really what brand it is, or what configuration it is, or even what caliber it is either. I mean, just so it's a major caliber, but what you can pick up and shoot well.
I'm still surprised how many Ruger fanboys there are. I mean, if you picked up a new Ruger off the shelf, not a lot of them are that great. Like, they really aren't. They're okay. There's nothing wrong with them, but to be a rabid fan of it for whatever reason just seems a little off to me.
Yeah, I mean, Ruger's really been a great company, though. They've really taken a lot of great directions in the last 10 years. And I don't know, they make some cool stuff. They make a lot of budget stuff I would never own, just because I've shot things like the LC9 and stuff and hated it. But at the
Security 9 and all those other guns.
Yeah, but at the same time, they make reliable. I mean, they're kind of like Ruger. You think reliability. They've done a good job of filling that market space, I guess. And so I think that's where you get a lot of Ruger fanboys, because I mean, they've been around forever too. So it's kind of like I've always been a Chicago Bears fan because my dad was, and you kind of get a generational thing going with Rugers and Smith & Wessons and some of these older Colt, even some of these older gun companies, because your father or grandfather were into that same brand, or maybe handed one down to you.
I'm totally glad that Ruger and them are still around, and they are very innovative. They come out pretty quickly with a ton of models that suit just about every use case. I just don't ever see myself like reaching for their catalog of guns. Like, the 1022 is great, but I've only got a couple of factory built 1022s, and if that, they're only like pieces and bits. The receiver is the only thing that's even still factory on them, kind of thing. But just they seem like they just are filling a niche that I'm not really a purchaser in anymore.
Well, I think you got to be careful there. You're not really a purchaser for anything off the shelf. because of just how.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough.
How you have a taste for modification and uniqueness and purpose-driven builds and stuff, and most people aren't like that.
That's very true. Yeah, and we're a little clouded because we're in the industry, and it seems kind of second nature to us. But yeah, I bet you a lot of the customers just buy them off the shelf and maybe mount a scope to it. But yeah, okay, yeah, fair enough.
Well, and that could be a good point too. Us being in the industry for so long, we maybe see so much more. I mean, a lot of these fanboy, driven, I don't know, fads. Maybe it's not that apparent to the general gun enthusiast that isn't really into the industry side of things, or I don't know.
Well, no, I bet you a lot of it's dictated on what they can get at their local stores. Like if they go there and
right.
the guy at the counter has whatever gun on his hip, and he's like, "Oh, you got to buy this. These are the best," or that's all they can get. Well, maybe they wouldn't be even exposed to anything else higher quality. Like if you want to go touch a high end gun, there's only so many stores that carry that stuff, just because it's a more of a niche market.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, your circle of influence or what you consume, like if you consume a lot of firearms podcasts or one specific one where like everyone on that podcast shoots a Glock, so you've got to be a Glock guy. And, there's a lot of, I guess, layers to this onion.
And that's how we end up with everybody with rolling specials. Not very many people need a rolling special, but we end up with everybody having one. And that is fanboyism.
Yeah. What about like the Rhino or something like that? You could also go down the road of exotic fanboyism, where
that's kind of what the HK is.
Where you like things different, like the CZ or even like the Canuck or Canuck or however you say.
Yeah, how do you pronounce that? Is it Canuck or
Canuck? I think it's Canuck.
Everybody say anything with them.
But yeah, there's like a whole slew of like Turkish made or Southern Eastern European made firearm companies out there too. That and a lot of those are CZ variants too. But
I can't believe we almost finished this episode without saying the most obvious one of them all: AK fanboys.
Right.
They are the biggest. One of the biggest ones is like, oh, you have an AR-15, whatever. The AK is better.
I mean, you can, AR-15. That's nice. You can't bury that in the African desert for 30 years and have a child soldier pick it up and use it. I mean, let's see you do that with an AR.
I'm sorry. Where's your shovel to make your receiver from?
Right.
Well, we've pretty much covered the fanboys left, right, center, up, down, in and out. There's a fanboy for everything. There's even Patriot Patch Company fanboys.
That's right. If you're a fan of patches, you can check out patriotpatch.co. Or if you're a super fanboy, you can join the Patch of the Month Club to get a unique, exclusive patch delivered to your mailbox every month, only available via the Patch of the Month Club. Maybe Glock should do something like this.
What's your feedback so far on the Patch of the Month this month? With the I just got it, and it is pretty cool. It's a little creepy with Santa, about to do a raid on the house. But
I mean, how else is he going to get in if you don't have a chimney? Did you think of that?
Yeah. Why is he holding a rifle?
He's got to protect himself. He doesn't know if you're naughty or nice.
Yeah. Wait, I thought he did. That's the whole point. Anyways, very cool patches, as always.
Thanks. Yeah, people are loving the December Patch of the Month, and the January Patch of the Month will be dropping soon. And check it out, patriotpatch.co. Also, if you need website design or graphics design, check out Hunter Design Ryan Cross. He does all the patch design at Patriot Patch, but he also has his own company, Hunter of Design. If you need any help in the website, graphics world, check him out. And Zach, where can people find you online?
Oh, you can always look at Range Hot or YouTube or my Instagram. There's always pictures and articles and videos of gun stuff if you're interested in what I got to do. But did you see Ryan's recent post on Instagram of an email advertisement that came to him that had the Just As Good moniker in it as well? And they said that they would put up against this $300 Trijicon or Vortex, and it was one of those those terrible red dots that are like red green, and it's like a little holographic window and like a big body to it, like the $8 red dots. It was one of those, and he said, "I'm unsubscribing. This is so ridiculous. I usually can go with them, but this one has just crossed the line."
No, I didn't see that. That's pretty hilarious. That's a whole other optic fanboy segment. We talked about optics too much already, but
yeah. Reference my Scope article, or my Scope, the Scope episode last week.
You can reach us, send hate mail to gunguyradio@gmail.com. Don't forget to check out all the other awesome shows on the Firearms Radio Network. And that's about a wrap. Thank you, Zach.
Thank you. See you next week.
This has been a production of the Firearms Radio Network. You can find more information at firearmsradio.tv.